All right. I am back again with another live stream on an announcement released by this fine fellow right here, Minister Fraser. Earlier today, I did a video on the fact that work permit holders in Canada can now study full-time, up to full-time, while they're on that work permit, which personally, if you watch the video, I'm not a big super fan of that. However, the latest announcement from Minister Sean Fraser, the Minister of Immigration in Canada, is all about forward-looking and opportunities to attract many skilled tech folks from all over the world to come to Canada and make it your home. Unlike some countries that are shrinking everything down, they're restricting the ability for people to come and even stay permanently. Canada is opening up its doors. And so tonight, I know that this will not affect a massive amount of people, and I recognize that. But I'm going to be the forefront of information and knowledge on what we classify as basically the Canadian H1B visa holder work permit. Yep, you heard me right. The Canadian H1B visa holder work permit for individuals who are in the US with no options going forward, with a shrinking pool of H1B basically space available to extend your H1Bs or even get on an H1B after you finish school. But those who are in the US who are seeing their opportunities shrink down, Canada has just flung open the door, wide open. Now, there's a caveat to this, and I'm going to talk about this today. I will get to it, some specific details. We'll definitely open it up for questions. But this is all about Canada's new tech talent strategy. And if I slide over here and share my screen, this image here is at the Collision Conference today, 2023. And if you watch here as I play this video, you can't hear the audio, but
please welcome the minister.
This fellow is announcing the arrival, and you can just kind of hear the music in the background. I don't know if this will work. Maybe you can hear it. But anyways,
we are living in an age of disruption.
Look at this.
Creates
what an amazing
for anyone who's bold enough to seize the moment.
Isn't that awesome? So you can go in, and I'll put a link in the show notes so that you can actually watch it. But I just wanted to give it a little shout out. The minister chose the Collision Conference, the preeminent tech conference, to announce, obviously, a bunch of new initiatives that the government is putting forward, the government of Canada, to attract the world's tech savvy folks, whether they're experienced or otherwise. And I'm just going to shift over here, and I want to highlight some of these just very quickly. And then I'm going to get into the real reason I wanted to do this video, which is the H1B visa holder work permit. It's open, and it's for any US visa holder who is looking to come to Canada. But like I said, there are caveats and there are limitations on this, including the fact that it's only going to be open for 10,000 people, the first 10,000. And that's where I come into the picture. But let's flip over, and I want to show you some of these other things that may very well affect some of you who are not US visa holders, but are tech. So right off the bat, you can see Canada wants top talent from around the world. That could very well be you. Choose Canada. You have the talent. We have opportunities. Look at that fancy branding. Isn't that nice? All right. So you can see here, they're focused on marketing, selling Canada as a place for all of you tech people to come. And so they say, okay, look, there's a large network of employers, world-class education, safety, security, culture that celebrates diversity, and services to help newcomers settle and feel welcome. This is why you should choose Canada. So if you want to come, these are the programs. Now, some of these are already in existence. There's nothing new, but I'll just quickly highlight them, and then I'll touch on some of the main comments the minister made at that conference. And then I'm going to get to what you really want to know is with the H1B visa holder, how does this work? What is it going to look like? And what do you need to do to prepare now? So express entry, yes, that's one of the pillars. Express entry, one of the targeted draws that will be coming. I'm attending a meeting tomorrow, a special meeting to talk about the actual targeted draws, how they're going to impact employers, how it's going to benefit employers. And they've already released the industries. Tech is on the list, and that is why express entry here, which is PR within 6 to 12 months, is what they're holding out. That's how fast you can come to Canada and become a permanent resident if you're within tech, amongst other things like healthcare, et cetera, and construction, and transportation. So express entry, startup visas, if you got an idea and you're an entrepreneur, Then there are, really favorable things that they've made changes to the startup visa program to encourage you to come to Canada and launch your startup, pitch your idea, and get the support of a Canadian business group and maybe possible investment. So that's another thing. Then we're going to jump past the H1B holder visa. And then I want to touch on quickly global skills strategy. This is targeted to Canadian companies to bring you in faster to work in tech. And literally, even if you're a visa required person, the goal is to get the approvals in under a month. So right around there, 2 weeks processing for the work permit. Some companies need to get labor market impact assessments where they prove there's no Canadian to do the job first, similar to your H1B, except in Canada, we don't have capping the number of work permits for skilled tech people. So this global skills strategy is to fast track the work permits for employees and their families looking to come to Canada. And then this is something also that they've put out. Now, these are not really new things, but they're just encouraging people to take advantage of the very favorable immigration provisions that we have. And digital nomads, you can apply. You don't need a work visa to work remotely from Canada. Well, that's the same for most countries. But you can come and visit and stay for up to 6 months. You can work for your employer outside Canada. You can do your job remotely. You want to experience Canada. But what they're saying here is come check out Canada, work remotely for your company. And then what we want you to do is take a job with a Canadian tech company, bring your skills and talent, and we will transition you into permanent residence through one of our programs, and we'll keep you because we love you and want you to be here. So those are some of the things that the minister announced in that collision conference right here. This is what he was announcing. That's the platform he chose, which makes sense. Big splash. That's what the minister's all about. There was backgrounders, release information that explains more detail about that, and we'll get into these backgrounders. But right here, you'll see this is the one that I want to focus on primarily, because those of you who are stuck in the US that don't have options, that are wondering what the heck the future holds. You've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for your education, your master's, your PhD, whatever it is. You're working in a highly skilled position, but the US doesn't care about you. They have very limited options for you to become permanent residents. And even staying there and working for companies that desperately want to keep you, your talent, your skill, well, they're just not there. Not like Canada. So H1B specialty occupation visas and their families, once again, your family can come. Canada is providing a pathway to work in Canada for 3 years. And you do not need a job offer to apply. This is independent. You don't have to hope that the company in the US who has a subsidiary in Canada is going to transfer you. You don't have to hope that they'll set up a subsidiary, a startup, and transfer you through the equivalent of an L visa. No, this is you being able to apply if you're fast, if you do it right the first time, and you can take one of those 10,000 spots. Let's face it, how many H1B visa holders are there in the US right now? I guess I could have looked it up, but heck, they just announced this today, so I don't have all the answers. But we know there's probably hundreds of thousands of you in the US, and there's only a limited number of spots available for H1Bs each year. But if you're a current H1B visa holder, Canada is saying as of July the 16th, we're going to open the doors. All right. So it's also a good opportunity to let you know that I am creating a Canada H1B work permit. That's what I call it, course that's coming July 16th, but it's not really coming July 16th. If you click on here and there's a link in the description below, it may very well come sooner if the minister and the department announces more information in advance, which I hope. But many of you have never done this before. And there's going to be all kinds of people looking to help you do it. And my recommendation is I switch over here to to the placeholder here. We are creating a course where you can learn to do it yourself. Why do I follow this path? Why, as an immigration lawyer, do I want people to prepare, learn how to do it, and then submit it on their own? Is because it is going to be a massive, crazy frenzy. A massive frenzy, you guys. Let me tell you a little story. And that story is, well, let's see, how long ago is it? It's about 2 years ago. Yeah, about 2 years ago. Canada decided during the pandemic to open something called the TR to PR pathway, the temporary resident to permanent resident pathway. At the time, I was serving as, I think I was the national chair of the Canadian Bar Association. I attended technical briefings, the National Immigration section of the Canadian Bar Association, and I attended technical briefings about this new TR to PR pathway. It was targeted towards international students in Canada and essential workers who'd been working on the front lines, basically putting themselves at risk of catching the virus before the vaccines came through. And Canada said, look, all you people who were doing that for us, if you're on the essential worker list that kept the country running, then you have an opportunity to apply for permanent residence directly. Okay. But the catch was on one day, I think it was May 6th, 2021, May 5th or 6th, they launched it and they had a cap. In the case of students, there were 40,000 spots available. And so what did that mean? The people that knew what they were doing in advance, that were prepared, that when that cart opened up for people to be able to get in and submit their applications, those who were prepared are all permanent residents of Canada. So at that time, what I created was my TR to PR pathway course. And that course is long since closed, but I helped over 500 people go through. And the people that subscribed to the course attended my master classes all leading up to the date when they launched. They were ready, they filed, and they got permanent residence. And I can see the exact same thing happening right now, you guys, with this program, this new H1B holder work permit. And this work permit, yes, it's not permanent residence, but it opens the door to Canada. It opens the door for you to come in to get Canadian work experience. You can work for anyone you want in Canada, but the tech jobs, you can target those. You can target other skilled positions. It doesn't say H1B holders that are only working in tech, but their goal is STEM and people that are in that industry. And we'll see ultimately if they restrict the H1B holders to tech. We'll have to wait and see. And we'll go through some of the program delivery instructions that they have released to this date, some of the backgrounders. But ultimately, this can open up a pathway for permanent residence in Canada. And there are already companies out there that are parking US B1, H1B visa holders who are already parking them in Canada, or they're continuing to work for US companies remotely, indirectly through Canadian companies. And I've got some issues with how they structured it, but hey, the minister, this fine fellow right here, is all on board. So if the minister's on board, then who am I to not be on board? So as we go through this, I want you guys, we're going to definitely have a Q&A session at the end. So get ready to post your questions, and I'm willing to talk about any questions that you have live. Yes, we're live here. And so we will get to that in just a second. So queue up your questions and let's chat about it. Now, with that being said, I want to jump back to here and just talk a little bit more about this course. The course is a complete walkthrough of the exact process, how you fill out the forms, how you submit your application, and you can do this on your own. Now, of course, myself, as our law firm, we are Holthe Immigration Law. And if I go into our firm website right here, you can see, and you will find a whole bunch more information on our site. We help people basically fulfill their dream of immigrating to Canada. We work for large multinational corporations. We work for your employers who are looking to transition people to Canada. But sometimes when it comes to your future, companies have their hands tied. But the beauty of this program, the beauty of this H1B holder work permit is that it's open. You don't need an employer. This is just you and your background and your qualifications, your eligibility. So you can even apply for it if you're not sure if you really need it or going to use it. You can have it as a backup. And that's what I'm going to be teaching. Not only will we have course materials that are on demand, video walkthroughs, step-by-step guides, but I will have a series of master classes all leading up to the day, July 16th, when theoretically, if the immigration department holds true, when the cart will open. And you need to start preparing now. And I'll get into some more details about that later. Okay, let's jump in. So H1B visa holders, like we talked about, 1 to 2 months to process a work permit to be able to come to Canada and work, no strings attached, for 3 years. And yes, there might be other requirements. Maybe there's immigration medicals. Maybe there's other things that you need. But if you're coming from the US, it's likely that most of the security and background stuff that you're doing, you've already done, but you still need to make sure that it's up to date. Okay, let's jump in and take a look at this Canada's tech talent strategy and this backgrounder. And like I talked about, the minister in his fine presentation right here, we watch him walk around a little bit more.
Years, we've seen new solutions that I could not have imagined only a few years ago. We've seen new technological.
Okay, so he's talking about this stuff. Let's get to the background, okay? So obviously, government is embracing Canada's emerging role as a leader in global tech talent. they're focusing on recruiting and attracting to Canada and, the skills and talent to create jobs for tomorrow. It's all about increasing opportunities for Canadians while at the same time bringing in the best and the brightest from abroad. So like you said here, the minister provides a number of pillars that are going to be involved in improving programs offered to individuals that are looking to come in tech, but I think also other areas. But there are 3 big pillars that are going to be coming, and I'll be sharing more information about this later. But today we'll focus on the H1B work permit because that's what's really in our face. I will talk about the digital nomad visa as well. We can chat about that. But number 1, they're looking at developing a new innovation stream under the International Mobility Program to attract highly talented individuals. The International Mobility Program is a work permit program that does not require Canadian companies to advertise before they can offer jobs to foreign nationals. And it also includes the open work permit world, which, like we've discussed here, the H1B visa holder work permit will fit within that category, okay? And of course, recent consultations with the tech industry stakeholders, they've heard that labor shortages persist, okay? They need talent. That's what this is all about, is bringing people in who have the talent. So the government is planning to launch a new innovation stream of the IMP by the end of 2023. So once again, big flash. This really drives me crazy. Minister, I do not understand why you always do these big flashy announcements and then it's like launch is sputter, 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 sputter. Whatever. The minister can do what he wants. He's the minister. So IRCC will create a new exemption for the labor market impact assessment, which I talked about. The LMIA is there to prove there's no Canadian or citizen, but this is all about fast tracking and bringing in the people who are, for high growth employers, talented workers who have innovation and they're working in priority areas within the high tech industry. Okay. Yes, feedback has said that the innovation stream proposal has led IRCC to consider, so after feedback from the stakeholders, they have considered 2 options that are not mutually exclusive. So employer-specific work permits up to 5 years for workers destined to work in whatever areas that are considered industrial innovation and that will fit within the goals the Government of Canada has. And then open work permits for up to 5 years for highly skilled workers in select in-demand occupations. So industries and occupations, but one thing's clear, it's all about innovation. And that's what Canada is really seeking to drive. Traditionally, Canada has not been seen as a country, where innovation is the bedrock. Our STEM really sucks. The work that we do to attract science, technology, engineering, math, that skill set, is not here. Like India blows us away. Same reason, the US attracts so much talent from India. But many countries are leaps and bounds ahead of us, and we're trying to play catch up now. So number 2, so this is the first one, is these developing a new innovation stream, not coming till the end of 2023. So once again, a little bit of information, a teaser, no details. Now, promoting Canada as a destination for digital nomads. Like we talked about earlier on our list of things that they're focused on, the digital nomads is basically, hey, come here like you do to all these other countries. And some of you will remember Chanel Rosenbaum, who was one of the associates who worked in my firm. She was a digital nomad. She loved traveling and working in different countries and working virtually and remotely. And that's what she did. So she spent the winter in South America. Well, it's summer. So Canada says, hey, come spend the summer months in Canada working virtually. You could technically spend the winters too if you like to ski or whatever. And, you can basically come and work virtually for your foreign company for up to 6 months. Well, that really hasn't changed anything. The current visitor visa, processes already accommodate for it, but they're just letting people know, hey, we've got all the stuff to support you as well. Come here, work here, stay. Now, I'm not going to get into the challenges with, I'm going to slide back to the main screen. I'm not going to address some of the glaring elephants in the room. We don't have enough housing for our existing people. Where are these people going to stay? I don't know. I'm not going to address that. That's for a different discussion. And, the infrastructure to house all these new people, I don't know. I really don't. I don't. Maybe they'll stay in tents and, stay close to Wi-Fi somewhere and work on their laptops from their tent camping. Or maybe they've got access to Elon Musk's, one of his Starlink satellites like I have close to our cabin in the mountains, where you can work from anywhere, right? So, but I'm not going to address that. So I'm going to leave that aside. So if you want to talk about that, we'll save that for another day, whether they're just logistical nightmares with this playing out. The reality is, folks, it's going to happen. So the current immigration rules, you can see, indicate that a digital nomad only needs visitor status to relocate to Canada for up to 6 months at a time while they perform their job remotely for a foreign employer. So we used to call this telecommuting when I worked on the border as an immigration officer. People would come in and they'd work remotely, and call in and have conference calls on the telephone. That's how long it's been. But now we've got the internet. Now we've got live streaming. Now we've got, video conferencing in all its forms, and it's so easy. You can do it on your phone, right? All right. In the months ahead, once again, come on. IRCC will collaborate with public and private partners alike to determine whether additional policies to attract digital nomads to Canada would be desirable. This is code for, this is just the beginning. This right here, this is saying, hey, digital nomads, come and visit Canada, stay here up to 6 months, work, have some fun, but we've got more in store for you. So I will have more in store for you guys as we go forward. Now let's keep looking here. We expect that some, and this is the kicker, like I talked about, this is the thing that drives the ship. Some digital nomads who initially enter Canada to work remotely will decide to seek opportunities with Canadian employers. Come, check out the country, check out the beauty. And I love my country. I love how beautiful it is. In fact, I'll show you something here. I'll pull it on the screen. Check this out. Yes, this is me fishing along this tiny little mountain stream high in the mountains. And look what I found on the ground. A beautiful elk antler, an elk shed. Oh, it's such a, I just found this on Saturday. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And look at how big this thing is. There you go. So some may come to Canada, right? You may come to Canada. And yes, that is an elk shed. They drop them. Every year they grow and they fall off. Okay. So that's what I found. Super exciting. Anyways, you can see here that they expect that when they come, they'll seek opportunities for Canadian employers. They'll come here fishing, fly fishing in the mountains and, working and then fishing in the evenings, just like me, what I'm doing right now. I love doing that. And they'll say, man, I want to stay here. And then they'll start looking around. I wonder what jobs are here. And when they receive a job offer from a Canadian company, they'd be able to bring their skills to a Canadian employer by applying for a temporary work permit or even permanent residence. And guess who's going to be there to help you? Right here, folks, us and my team at Holthe Immigration Law. We don't specialize. We do not specialize. The Law Society will get me in trouble. We focus ourselves extensively on express entry and processes to allow individuals to immigrate. So you can go to our website, you can check out all the things that we have going on, but that's what we do. So I'm stepping in and I'm saying, we are here to give you guys a hand. Okay, let's keep going. So you can see for digital nomads, there is more to come. So they're going to look at additional policies, like I said here. So there's more to come. Okay, now let's look at this. Okay, this is where the rubber hits the road. This is where I want to focus. And actually, maybe I'll just bypass this quickly because these first three are the new ones. And then these are just changes to the existing programs, the global skills strategy, like we talked about, all designed. And I'm not going to go through all this in detail because you can just read it yourself, but they're going to basically try to clean it up and make it faster because it's not fast right now. It's designed for employers seeking quick access to highly skilled talent. It's not. The pandemic, Minister, I'm going to pull him back on again. Okay. Minister, the pandemic is over. It's been over for a long time. Every business has figured out a way to clean things up. You guys are so far behind. You need to get things sorted out. It's a disaster right now. And adding more people to the mix, you got to clean up and make your bed before you jump in it again with a whole bunch of other candidates. Okay, enough said. Now, processing times for global skills, they said, yep, they're recovering after delays through the pandemic. Okay, so they're working on that. Startup visa, yes, there's some interesting things that they're trying to do. They're increasing the numbers. They're moving the numbers from, I think it was like 1,500 to 3,500. I can't remember exactly what the numbers are for the startup visa program, but they're definitely increasing them. Actually, I think I have that. Yes, they're going from 1,000 to 2,500 going forward. And then they also, within that program when individuals who fit into certain categories, they're going to really focus and be able to fast track those with committed capital, from Canadian investors who have endorsements from trusted partners, those kinds of things. They can get things theoretically, if they can clean up the processing times, they can have things go through quicker. And then in the end, they're going to also extend it so that individuals who meet those requirements, I'm not sure if it's listed anywhere here, but they can get work permits for up to 3 years when they come to Canada to get started. And another cool thing about the startup visa program is often when you're starting up with a new company, you don't have tons of capital to live off of. And so many people, as they're doing the startup, can also work on the side with these new work permits that they're going to announce with the SUV program. So stay tuned. More information. This is the source. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do it. Okay, now let's jump back here to what I wanted to cover, which is the H1B specialty occupation visa holder. So they say thousands. I'll bet there's hundreds of thousands. And they do say here in high-tech fields are employed with companies that have large operations in both Canada and the US, and those working in the US often hold an H1B specialty occupation visa. Okay, great. Well, right now, they can transfer those people to Canada through intercompany transfer provisions. So thanks, Minister, for pointing out the obvious. As of July 16th, H1B specialty occupation. So this suggests that they may very well limit this to high-tech areas, but we just don't know. They're probably not going to open it up to every H1B person in the world, but they're going to open it up to specialty occupations that fit into the actual labor needs and demands of Canada. So their accompanying immediate family can also come, and they'll and these individuals will be able to seek work permits. So approved applicants will receive a work permit for up to 3 years in duration, and usually that's enough time to connect with an employer and to have your family come, and spouses can get open work permits. Some children, if they follow through with some of what they said before, some working age kids might also be able to get open work permits or study permits as needed. And basically, it'll expand the opportunities available for skilled workers to continue to pursue their careers in the high-tech sector. So once again, I think they're going to limit it to some extent to high-tech and to contribute to Canada's economic growth and prosperity. Not just Canada. They feel, hey, you're still in the same time zone. So even the US companies you're working for, you may be able to work, for them from Canada too, through the digital nomad, if that's an option. Okay. And it will remain in effect. And this is the key. And this is why I want to drill it into everybody until IRCC receives 10,000 applications. So only principal applicants and not their accompanying family members will count. So 10,000 applications. Like I said before, how many H1B holders do you think there are actually in the US? I don't know. I have to pull that information up, but it's hundreds of thousands, but only 10,000 of them that are basically stuck with no options for PR in the US or future really are going to be able to come. So you have to be ready. You have to start collecting your documents. You have to literally be ready right now. Okay. I'm going to just take a little break here. I'm going to, I've said what I needed to say. If you have not, in the description below, there is a link where you can click, where you can access the, I'll just share with you one more time here. In here, the H1B work permit holder, when you come here, it'll probably take you right here. You can check out the courses. Yes, I've got express entry, 18-month postgrad, study permit, spousal sponsorship. There's a bunch of other courses here that you can take. But the key for all of these courses, especially this one right here that we're talking about, you can click right here right now to log in, and you can reserve your spot now. That's all you have to do. We haven't opened the cart yet. We're still waiting to see exactly what this is going to look like. But we know work permits. We know how this works. I've worked with global companies my entire career for almost 20 years. I know what this is going to look like, but I want you guys to be prepared. So fill it out, give me your name, email address, and then I will notify you the moment the cart opens up, and then I will start my master classes, and you guys will be eligible to attend them. And as the information on the program gets released, then we will be actually doing tutorials. And in some cases, I'll do live tutorials because time is of the essence to show people how to prepare and complete their own work permit applications. Some of you may be able to apply directly. Well, most of the H1B visa holders in the US are going to be visa required nationals that require visa to Canada as well. But some of you may not be. Some of you may be visa exempt to Canada and be able to apply at a port of entry. But I suspect that the minister, he may direct people to apply online, but we'll just have to see because they have to track the number of candidates. And if there's only 10,000 spots, they're going to fill up fast. And that actually brings me to another topic, which is the TR to PR pathway. You guys, that program that I talked about is very similar to this, time sensitive. Those 40,000 spots, in fact, I think there were 48 because so many people were clicking so fast that the system couldn't count it quick enough. And about 8,000 extra people got in through the queue when they thought there were only 40,000. And the reality is this is going to happen again. There is going to be a mad race to submit. And if you are ready and prepared, you will get the information uploaded, submitted before the other people who are still scrambling, trying to figure it out. And I want to put another caveat out there, just so everybody knows what we're talking about here. It's this Canadian H1B visa holder work permit coming July 16th. Those of you who have counsel or other consultants who are acting for subsidiaries or other related entities of your company who say, hey, yeah, we can help you to file this. Please, please be careful. And the same thing goes with anyone who's looking to hire a representative, including me directly. When you're in a situation where there is a race to file, who is that representative, that attorney? Who is that consultant? Who are they going to prioritize? And while they're submitting someone else's application, other people are completing theirs. And once that 10,000 cap is hit, donezo. You are out. And so what does the person say? Well, sorry, we didn't get to you because we had 5 other people in the queue before you. Sorry, it just closed before we had a chance. So that is why personally, I think it's unethical for anyone to represent more than one person. And so everyone in my office will take one person to work with. And we haven't figured out what the fees will be, but I want to help as many people. And like I said, with the TR to PR pathway, I only marketed through this YouTube channel and I just shared information that I knew, but we helped over 500 people go through the program through the TR to PR pathway course. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the new Canada H1B visa holder course. So reserve your spot, get notified. The link is below, and then we'll let you know when the cart's open. Okay, let's get into some questions here for the last part. Okay. Spider-Man will give you a hello. I guess I better pull off my headline here so we can see people. So Spider-Man says, hello, hello. Hamed Sugimoto. Hello, Hamed. Good to see you. Okay. Nathan says, hey, Mark, what if the H1B visa was revoked? Can they still apply for the work permit? Nathan, I don't think so. I think this is for people who currently hold a valid H1B visa, but the minister has been creative in the past. And so if the person is in one of these kind of techie positions, it may very well be that they open it up to other individuals. Now, having anything refused or revoked is a whole other issue. And I'm going to have follow-up videos that address all of the issues specifically. I'll probably release another one tomorrow on the top things to start preparing now. So watch. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do it. We'll cover that. But you know, there's lots of things that can trip people up, including not having the documents ready that they need, but inadmissibility, refusals for other countries, potentially that could be an issue. H1B is being revoked. I'd need more details, Nathan. And as always, with anyone who has questions, all you have to do is slide over to our website and you can click on Speak to a Lawyer and book a consultation with Alicia, myself, or Igor. And yeah, if you want to learn how our clients feel about working with us, you can review the 136, I guess now, reviews that we have, which I just started doing this reviews like about 1.5 years ago, I think. So anyways, check those out. Okay, let's jump back here. Let's keep getting to some more questions. Next is, and remember, these things are all about the pathway. So, okay, Gerardo says, hey, Mark, hope you're doing great. Along with this announcement, he also announced, yes, a STEM pathway to PR. Is there any additional information available? I can't find anything clear on this topic. No, this is classic Minister Fraser, big splash, no announcement. What else has he announced? He announced pathways, family class pathways to permanent residence for family members of Ukraine nationals. Haven't heard a sniff about that. So nope. But trust me, Gerardo, the moment I hear, I will let you know. And that's the first thing that we talked about, that, excuse me, the pathways, yes, through STEM. And basically, and I guess I shouldn't, okay, let me qualify this. Sorry, Gerardo. What you're talking about here, I was confusing it with the innovation through the IMP work permit. The STEM is really through through express entry. And on my YouTube channel, let's see if I can find it here. I'm just going to go in to my channel and see if I can find the video. I've got so many videos on here now. We're up to almost 800 videos on the YouTube channel. Let me just share my screen with you guys here. Okay, so let's see how to find worker, job, peer-to-peer refusal. It's been a form. Oh, do you know what? I think it's in my lives. I think my lives is where I did it. Breaking news. Here, new express entry, targeted draws. So this is where we had, where I talked about this in detail. And basically what you're asking, it's a variation of the express entry process that targets specific areas. It's category specific. So for example, if you don't know anything about immigration to Canada, I'll share my screen again with you guys. And you go, Canada has an express entry system and it has rounds of invitations. So within this process, the minister is introducing category-based rounds of invitation. In fact, like I said, I've got a meeting tomorrow with immigration where they're going to talk about these category-based rounds of invitation. They're supposed to launch them in the spring, didn't happen. So they kicked it down the road like they usually do. And so we're supposed to see some more targeted draws. But as of today, general rounds is pretty much what we've seen. We have seen a few program specific rounds, and I won't get into a lot of details about that. Canada has, a number of different rounds that they could do, 4 different ones, in fact, depending upon the type of immigration application that within the economic programs. You can see they come through anything from provincial nominee programs, CEC, the Canadian Experience Class, the Federal Skilled Worker, et cetera. But the category-based rounds of invitations are supposed to kick in. And, and ultimately, excuse me, this is what we'll have the meeting with the minister tomorrow. But one of the category-based rounds of invitations that I talked about in the YouTube, this one right here, is the breakdown of the actual categories. And on that list was STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, those particular occupations. So when the minister decides to do a rounds of invitation, he can say only those people that have STEM experience in these particular occupations are going to be eligible for this round of invitations. And what is a round of invitation? We scroll down here and we'll see that there was one today. So there was a round of invitation, but this was a no program specified draw, which was basically category 1, general rounds of invitation. So anyone, no matter which program you were qualified to get into the express entry pool, you would then have an ability to be drawn, but it's all based on your comprehensive ranking system score, which is your human capital. How educated are you? Like your education, your language, your work experience, your age even plays a role. So 486 was the total. So that's basically how it's structured. Okay. Hopefully that helped, Gerardo. So it's really what he's talking about is when they do targeted draws through express entry right now. They may do something different in the future. We'll just have to see. Okay. Let's get to some more questions. Okay. Davina says, when will be Ontario category-based draws start? Please, my son is still waiting for an ITA PNP. Hey, Ontario, that's a whole separate ball of wax, and those provinces never tell us when they're going to do those things. So I don't know. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, Mark here. He says, hey, Mark, and he's Mark too. Great name. Mine spelled with a K. You got it. Yours is a C. All good. So I'm currently on a closed work permit in Toronto. I'm a software engineer. Due to some mass layoffs, I need to find alternate work. Will the digital nomad be an alternate option? Okay, well, remember, Mark, the digital nomad does not give you any ability to work in Canada for a Canadian company. That's only for individuals who are here basically on visitor status working for a company abroad. So that's what it is. It's a visitor who's just not working, not entering the labor market, but they're working for a company abroad, but they're just hanging out here in Canada because they can work virtually. That's how it works essentially. So you, my friend, would need to find a new employer. And I know it sucks when you're on a closed work permit. You can only work for that employer, but hopefully you're in an area where maybe other companies are looking to fill, where some of the big ones are laying off. But yeah, Mark, my heart goes out to you, and I recommend that you slide over and book a consult. And usually what I do is I just ring this little triangle bell here. Oh, I guess I better turn on my sound effect here so that you can hear it. Yes, and that's code, and we'll just, so we can keep zipping through here, for head on over here and book a consultation with us, and we can guide you and help you through the journey. Okay, at least help you to strategize, especially if your options are running out. Mark, heart goes out to you. Okay, Andy, hey, good to see you. Thanks for keeping us up to date. So many announcements. The last one makes my head spin. I agree. I'm late to the party. Will this replace the GTS? No, it doesn't, Andy. The GTS is still on the map. They've just said that they're going to speed it up and actually try to meet their processing times of 2 weeks for LMIAs. That's what their hope is. And then meet the 2 week work permit process. So that's the reality, Andy. Good to see you, my friend. Okay. Hey, Mark, will all H1Bs be allowed? I hold H1B visa for the last 7 years, but I am in a non-STEM field. Raz, it looks to me like, based on reviewing what the actual, let's slide over here to the background, or at least what we know, they are really looking at H1B specialty occupations. So what does that mean? Is it only going to be, tech? Is it only in high tech? It's hard to say. There's a good indication that it may be, but I guess ultimately it comes down to if there's H1B workers in other areas where Canada's experiencing shortages, where they might open it up. So tech might be just one of the industries, because remember, the backgrounder here is all about tech. So the minister is completely focused on Canada's tech talent strategy. But when you look at the announcements, when it comes to express entry, it talks about fast tracking people that have, tech experience. But that same process exists for anyone who is in one of the targeted industries. And like right now, healthcare is on the list, right? So it just depends on, but I think it's not conclusive. It's not exclusive. There is room potentially for, within the H1B specialty occupations, for it to not just be the tech, the high tech field. We'll see. I'm not closing off anything to Minister Fraser. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, Mark says, how will this affect the category-based jobs? Isn't tech occupations on that list? Yeah, it is. Understand that all of these various programs, including the H1B, it's an open work permit for them. They're saying, hey, you've got skills in tech. Come to Canada on an open work permit. See if you can find a job with one of the tech companies. So, Kevin, yes, absolutely. We'll see how it all plays out. Okay, says he's interested here. Thanks for tuning in on LinkedIn, Kevin. Appreciate it. Okay. Shivom says, hey, Mark, what if someone got laid off on an H1B visa and looking for a job? Can they apply for the work permit? Maybe. This is what we're waiting. This is exactly the situation where people are running out of time, running out of opportunities. And this is why, the minister announced what he did. So one of the things that he talked about when he was laying everything out for us in the actual live presentation that he did at the conference, was emphasizing that, Canada is looking for people that have skills. And if the US doesn't want you, then there may very well be pathways here. So, if your H1B visa, we don't know the specifics of it. We'll have to see. One thing I'm going to do, if you subscribe to the channel, Shivam, because I'm going to be doing a series of YouTube all on this topic, leading all up to the next 2 weeks. There's going to be a ton of videos, probably almost one every day. I'm going to invite a U.S. immigration attorney, a good friend, an expert in the U.S., to come and talk about H1B visas and, some of the parameters once we get more details, so that people understand really whether or not they may qualify. There's nothing worse than submitting an application when you don't qualify and then getting a refusal to Canada, right? That can impact applications to the UK or Australia or New Zealand. So you really want to make sure that you're doing it right the first time. Okay. All right. Crazy Love says, hey, Mark, if you have had experience in a STEM knock, but currently working in a different knock outside of the STEM, how do you sign up for express entry? Well, understand it. Your primary knock, we're going to get more information. And that's one of the questions I'm going to ask of immigration tomorrow is, the STEM experience only needs to be 6 months. Well, 6 months isn't enough to qualify under the Federal Skilled Worker Program or even under the Canadian Experience class. You need more. So likely any work experience that you're listing in your work history that encompasses at least that 6 months of STEM work should work. And if you are working in a different occupation that is your primary NOC, that fits the requirements. And remember, you could have a STEM occupation and your current work that's at tier 3 or higher on the NOC in Canada that could combine to make you eligible for the CEC. So we'll find out more tomorrow, and I will probably do a live video right after we're done. Okay, Shirley, great to have you here from Toronto. That's where the minister made this announcement from. Okay, Amara says, what would be one immigration status if he has an open work permit linked initially to wife, closed work permit, who is now admitted to an ITA under CEC class? What would be one immigration status? Well, if you've got an open work permit linked to a wife's closed work permit, and your spouse has now received an ITA, well, to start with, I'm going to do this. I'm going to congratulate you, Amara. I'm going to recommend that you slide over to our website and that you book a consult, and we can talk about the strategy going forward. That ITA, I am so excited for you. That is absolutely fantastic. But in terms of your question here, once you've got an ITA under CEC, I'm assuming you're listed as an accompanying spouse to your wife who's now received the ITA. It's business as usual. You keep working under the work permit that you have. If your wife who's on a closed work permit, in some cases you can apply for a bridging open work permit to, if you need to extend that permit. But those are all things that we can discuss in a consult tomorrow. Okay, Hardy, hello. It's great to see you. Thanks for connecting in. I'm on an H1B as a civil engineer in the US. Is this going to be a category base, or is it going to be something separate? I'm going to also applaud you, Hardy, because everything that I've seen here seems to indicate that you, my friend, should be the exact individuals that the minister's going to, be targeting. Now, will civil engineering fit on the list? Are they just focusing on just high tech? We'll see, because I think it's more STEM. And we're talking about the open work permit, Hardy, for you to come and work in Canada. Now, as an H1B visa holder, this is a huge opportunity for you. And I highly recommend that you share this video with your friends who are also H1Bs in the US. Have them subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be pouring a ton of information in. Everything I hear, the moment I hear it, I'm going to be sharing it with you guys. And this is going to be the source for that information, absolutely. And so as far as a category for express entry, STEM already is. So if there's a round of invitations and it's a category based, then the minister will say anyone in these occupations, you will receive an ITA if you have it listed, within your work history. Now, we ultimately, like I said, I'll learn more information about that tomorrow. But what we're talking about here when it comes to this, and I'll share my screen back here, this H1B work permit, open work permit for Canada. We don't know if it's just going to be limited to high tech or whether this one will also encompass more broadly STEM. But once again, if you can see here, it will go for 1 year or until they receive 10,000 applications. Personally, I think it could fill up one day. That's my belief. So if you're interested, Hardy, then by all means, click on the link to get notified when we actually launch the course, or don't hesitate to reach out and we can talk about strategy via consult. Both of those links should be below in the description. Okay, let's zip along a little bit more and then we'll wrap up here in just a second. Okay. Chanel says, hello, if I got a job offer in an occupation I have no experience in, can I still apply through express entry? You need to book a consult for that one, Chanel. I don't know what your experience is. I don't know what the job offer is. When you're applying to come and work in Canada, what is your job offer? You only get points if it's an LMIA-based offer, so a labor market impact assessment, or you're already working on an employer-specific work permit in Canada, which I get the sense maybe both of those don't apply to you, but a consult's the way to go. Okay, Crazy Love says, the experience was just for 6 months. Will you automatically appear under category-based criteria met or just still FSW? Understand that you still have to meet the eligibility requirements for FSW and or CEC or federal skilled trade. You still need to meet those minimum requirements in order to get into the pool. If you don't have a year, then you're not even going to get through the gate, because you need to have at least a year of skilled work experience. So that's one thing we do know. Okay. Okay. Hardy finishes up. Are the requirements the same as in express entry, or people just need to have an H1B and experience in the priority list? We will see exactly what they do, Hardy, and you'll be the first to know when I go live. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and continue watching these videos. It'll be different. So remember, the H1B is as a visa holder of H1B status in the US. You're going to be eligible to apply for a work permit. The documentation, everything that you need to apply for a work permit is considerably different than what you need to apply for express entry. In terms of categories and how they select, it may be that they have a list of NOC codes. In that case, and what we call NOC is the National Occupational Classification System. It's how Canada categorizes all of the various jobs. Well, it's possible that they could, in both programs, whether it's eligibility for the work permit or eligibility for the category-based draws, Hardy, they could in both cases say, here's the list of NOCs. If your work experience fits on this list of occupations, then you're good to go. Possible. Another thing too is the work permit, and this is why I'm doing the DIY course for the Canada H1B work permit. It's because there will be very little time and there'll be no opportunity to get it wrong. If people submit an application and it gets rejected and 999 other people get in, you'll be left out in the cold. And so you have to get it right the first time. That's the message that I'm trying to get out. Okay, Megalee says, on a closed work permit in Canada, over 50 and no university diploma, what would be the best way to get PR? All my family siblings are here in Canada and would love to stay. Do you have high school? Are you working? So you're on a closed work permit in Canada. Which province? Hopefully there's a pathway maybe through the province that you're in. But Megalee, once again, I recommend you book a consult, link below, and we can go through and see what options are available. It depends on so many factors that I just can't give you direction here in a live stream. Okay. Okay. Jatender says, to hire a foreign worker on a closed work permit can be hired by another Canadian employer without LMIA. No, if you're working in Canada on a closed work permit, that means you're employer specific. That's the only employer you can work for. You can't go work for another company unless they themselves got another LMIA or you had some other pathway for a work permit. So new policy says that Canadian tech employer can hire a foreign worker on closed work permit without LMIA. Okay, you're misunderstanding here. What they mean is individuals who get an open work permit because they meet the eligibility requirements. In this case, the H1B. If you're an H1B holder in the US and you're coming to and you hold that visa, then you may be eligible for this Canadian H1B holder work permit. So it doesn't apply. That doesn't apply to people who are already working in Canada. Yeah, I'm just trying to think here if there's anything, Jatender, that I would have missed here. Canadian tech employer can hire a foreign worker on closed work permit without LMIA. Well, it's not a closed work permit. Let's see. Okay. There's so many programs, and bear with me as I sort through these. The innovation one, the very first one that they talk about, let's share the screen because I really desperately want to try to answer you guys' questions. If you're referring to this one, the new innovation stream, yes, they're looking at a way, and this number one, they're absolutely, Jatinder, looking at a way to allow employers in very targeted, you can see here, targeted industries or in-demand occupations, the ability for employers to hire them directly. And just a little tidbit, Canada used to have a software program. It used to be if you're on the list, you didn't need an LMIA. I did many, many work permits for companies bringing in software engineers and the like through this old program that was an LMIA exempt program. And you could go and you could apply for the work permit under the program as long as the work experience was in that NOC. And to some extent, that's the direction that they're going back to, Jatinder. And so, we'll see what this list is, but they're looking at going back to something that existed back in the early 2000s when I first started my practice. Like I said, 20 years ago. Wow, it's hard to believe it's been that long. Okay. Magali's in BC. Yes. So Magali, the reality is, it's super competitive in BC because everybody goes there. It's super competitive in Ontario. There's so many people there that if you don't have university, you're going to be really, really hard pressed to secure a spot. Other places, obviously, other places, they absolutely, provinces have pathways for you as long as you have high school, like Alberta. All right, we'll wrap it up here with the last question from Shirley. Do we have to declare all jobs in the Express Entry profile even for not claiming points? No, you don't. Express Entry question. No, you don't. Shirley, I have my masterclass right now going for the Express Entry course. And if you haven't subscribed to it, I highly recommend that you consider doing that. So if I slide over here and just share one last thing with you guys, remember you can click here to learn more and reserve your spot in the course right now. We're going to be launching it at the earliest opportunity. We have enough information from the minister that we can start. And if there's no information coming before July 16th, which I highly doubt, then I will teach you everything I know about work permits so that you're as prepared as possible, so that whatever happens, we'll be able to dive in live that very day, and I'll go through an example and talk about how I set it up. But I'll do everything just like I did with the TR to PR pathway to try to anticipate what the minister is going to do, what the program's going to look like. I already have a very good idea what it's going to look like. There's only certain things that you can do when you're applying for a work permit, and I will make sure that you are all educated accordingly. But you can see right now, June 26th to the 29th, we're in the midst of our Express Entry step-by-step course and masterclass. And there's still time for you to jump in and join me. The last two masterclasses that I did were Q&A sessions. And so if you can build up all your questions and still have a chance to get in, join me, get your questions answered. Every evening from 4 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time, we have a 1-hour masterclass. And when it comes to this program here, Canada H1B Work Permit, I'm probably going to be doing my masterclasses in the evenings because I know all of you guys south of the border are working late. And so more than likely, I'll probably go from about 7 to 9 Mountain Time, which should work for most people. So, and that's what I did with the TR to PR. So I'll share everything that I know. All right. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all for... please just, for being here. Please subscribe. Let people know about this. I'm going to try to share as much as I can. And I know people say, oh, what is the course going to offer? Well, just go and look, go to the site, check it out, and you'll see very quickly how everything is structured. Fanny says, could you please summarize the new law before you wrap up for the day? Fanny, you can watch this. There'll be a recording. As far as the new law, I'll focus exclusively on the US H1B permit. Basically, US H1B visa holders have the opportunity to apply for a 3-year open work permit in Canada. It'll start on July the 16th, and there's only 10,000 spots. All right. Okay. You're welcome, Fanny and Cheaton. Good to see you. Take care, everybody. We'll see you shortly.